I wanted to kind of start off, and I was trying to think of like where our paths in the social media realm, where they first crossed. And I was thinking about how when I first started my Instagram account for KAL Experience, you were one of the first people that somehow we got connected. Maybe I have no idea how it happened, but I just remember you just being welcoming. You were like, even though you may not realize this, you were like very, whatever you said, whether it was a DM or a comment on one of my first posts, you like sort of like welcomed me into the content creator realm. And I just said, you know what, I really like Santana here. Something about her energy and something about, the stuff that obviously the first impressions, checking you out and stuff that you're doing. I said, I want to stay close and see what she's up to. And fast forward however many months, 4 or 5 months later, and here we are.
It was I don't know, I think I ran across one of your videos because you were dealing with music and stuff, and I was into, like, I was looking at something where it was dealing like editing and whatnot, and I just happened to run across your video about like beat making and stuff, and that's pretty. And then I was like, wow, like looking at your video and the editing and the lighting, because it looked really, really nice. And then I know you were kind of like just starting off with it, but you had your own series going on, and you always DM me and say, hey, I got a new episode out, go check it out. I watched it, I'm like, wow, I'm jealous of this setup. I want this setup.
Hey, I super appreciative of that. I mean, I really put a lot of effort, into the content, just like I'm sure a lot of us do. And so I think it never gets old, like, hearing directly from someone that, whatever it is that you're working on has had just an impact. Something about it stood out, from the rest is definitely a great thing to hear. So go ahead, tell me more. Tell me. I appreciate that. It means a lot. It means a lot. So thank you so much for that. Again, thank you for coming on the episode. I purposely didn't want to research too much about you, because I know a little bit about what you do as a journalist, but as someone who's kind of stepping my foot into the media space, starting out with just specifically music, but realizing once I've started that and once I'm kind of seeing how fun it is to be creative with the content creation and obviously interviewing people and making things that are, enjoyable on the music front as well as the visual sort of front. I wanted to kind of chat with you a little bit about that, about what your experience is like being a journalist. I know that you're very much involved with, the culture as well as with hip hop and things like that. So I definitely want to, just kind of have a open, just a general conversation, not even an interview type thing, just kind of chat with you. So I'm gonna start off by letting you, if you don't mind, introducing yourself to my audience, who you are and what you do.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so everybody, my name is Driune Santana. A lot of people have a problem pronouncing my first name. I recently just decided that I'll put the enunciation somewhere so that you have no choice but to click on it and be like, okay, so this is how you pronounce her name. Instead of saying, oh, I hope I don't mess your name up. So I hope we get over that phase going into 2021 where nobody has to ask me how to pronounce it.
There you go.
So I live in Jackson, Mississippi. I've been here for a very, very long time. And starting out being a journalist, I started out 5 years ago. I was still in college. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I switched my major plenty of times. And I know a lot of people who went to college probably undecided, didn't know what they wanted to do. I started out with criminal justice because I wanted to be a detective. I wanted to be out there at the crime scene, but I had to realize that I had to learn all of the basics inside the classroom. And that's something that I did not want to do. So I eventually switched over to fashion marketing, which was kind of interesting because I learned a lot. I was a part of this DECA leadership program that they had there at the college that I was attending. And I became the vice president. We went to competition. I won first and second place for our leadership program. And then afterwards, I became the president the next semester. So that was a big task to kind of hold on to. But eventually, so eventually in 2015, I switched my major over to journalism. Why is someone who grew up being timid, shy, did not like talking, didn't like speaking to people, not the best public speaker, go into journalism where you have to talk to people, interview people, and all of that? So that's where I was. So after I switched my major over in the summer, a guy who was working for this publication reached out to me looking for, contributing writers. I had no experience, but I knew I enjoyed writing.
Mm-hmm.
So I got in touch with the editor over at the publication. She brought me on, and she just allowed me to build my writing portfolio. I stayed there for like 2 years, but I eventually got fired because I wanted to branch out to other publications outside of the state of Mississippi. And she wasn't here for it. So that was like, wow, I didn't know much about, the journalism business and, going off to write for other people or contributing to other people and stuff like that. And, being fired from the first publication that gave me an opportunity to build something of my name. I learned a lot there, and I still utilize those things today within the publication that I write for now. So it was pretty interesting. But after I graduated in 2017, I got into radio because I wanted the feel of what it'd be like to be a radio host. That kind of brought me out of my comfort zone because can't nobody see you unless you have to interview them. So
Mm-hmm.
I can be behind the mic in sweats, no makeup on,
Mm-hmm.
hair in a bun, be comfortable, but talking to you like I'm all glammed up. And that was probably one of the best experiences that I ever had because it was something new to me. It allowed me to get the feel of being on air, people getting familiarized with my name, my brand, my work, and knowing that, wow, this girl has something. Her voice is new, it's authentic, can't be replicated.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of listeners, they really enjoyed me being on the show. And eventually going from being an intern to having my own show on air within
Mm-hmm.
6 months.
Wow.
Who can do that?
That's
Normally,
awesome.
a year before an intern goes into having their own show with no supervision. You just in there by yourself.
Mm.
So I guess it was just something that was just meant to happen. But eventually I left because, in radio, you don't really make money unless you do like advertisements or like commercials and stuff like that. And nobody wanted to, I asked, but then nobody wanted to teach me how to do that. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
stop in my bag, disrespectful. So afterwards, I just started writing for a lot of publications. That's pretty much all that I did. Eventually, I started getting into doing interviews, and the rest is pretty much history, honestly.
Mm-hmm. That's really cool. So between the writing and the radio personality, radio host, which of the two do you think that you enjoyed more? Which was more fun and rewarding and enjoyable?
Probably being on the radio because it was new to me,
Mm-hmm.
and being the youngest there, like everybody there had already established their name in the business and very, very well known. I was a newcomer, the only young person there.
Yeah.
So I needed to be on the level as the people who are already here, because they were giving me an opportunity to come in and be that new generation, bring in the new generation of music, bring in new artists who are up and coming and give them an opportunity to share their stories, their experiences, and get people familiarized with them. So that's
Right.
kind of what I did. So everyone kind of already knows, the older generation of people who are entertainers. They don't know the newer generation. So with me, I felt that was my time to use my platform and give them an opportunity to share their stories when maybe they will have to pay, maybe 100 or something plus dollars just to
Mm-hmm.
speak on it. I did it for free,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because somebody gave me an opportunity, so I was willing to give somebody else an opportunity.
What's powerful about that is that sounds very similar to kind of my thought process. When I started having guests on my show, it started out with just me being the only person on the show, sort of a talking head shot, kind of similar to this, talking directly to the camera type thing about various different experiences, topics, things like that. But I kind of knew that eventually I wanted to grow into having conversations with people for many different reasons. But one of them is because I truly enjoy connecting with people and I enjoy learning from people. And I've learned over the years that that feeling is usually very mutual in, you know, our conversations that I usually would have with people sort of off camera. It's usually like a very much a two-way street where both people are leaving that talk feeling uplifted, feeling inspired or educated or entertained, even if that's, you know, what we're going for. And so it's super, I could relate to what you're saying about that. It's super just really nice to have, you know, a platform that's growing steadily, to give people a chance to talk about what they do. Like what's cool about it is, for example, let's take you for example, the word journalist. Most adults, all adults, have heard of the term journalist before, but unless
Mm-hmm.
if you are a journalist or know a journalist, you don't necessarily, myself included, right, know what it means to be a journalist. And that's, I want to kind of unpack that a little bit. I know it has to do with writing for publications, but if you could, I guess, I don't know, 20,000 foot view, and as deep as you feel like you would like to go, but just an overall sort of, you know, what is the experience, a day in the life of a journalist like?
Ooh, okay. So it can be very hectic, you know, especially if you do freelance wise, if you are, or if you're like just a staff or just an intern. I would say a day in my life, it varies. Some days I don't have nothing to do. So I started working on different content and stuff for my own personal brand and, you know, building up my little YouTube or things that I have on my to-do list. But on
Mm-hmm.
days when I have things to do, like today was probably one of my busiest days ever.
Wow.
Um, I would say so sometimes we're hopping on to press conferences that happens to be virtual. We're doing interviews with people that we may not even know. Sometimes we're writing the articles. We are breaking news, making sure that you try to be the first publication to have it out first.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you have to meet those deadlines that are pretty tight, close together. It just really depends on if you're in the freelance world or if you're like a staff writer or just an intern.
Mm-hmm.
So with me, I would say for day-to-day life, it's getting up, checking to see what's new news that's out. Sometimes news break at 3 o'clock in the morning, and me, I'm still up around that time. So it's like, when do you go to sleep?
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm 3, 4 o'clock in the morning checking this app that I use to for breaking news, like in like real time. So I'm always up writing and making sure that I have all of my facts together. One thing's for sure when it comes to basic journalism is to never have anyone be able to have the opportunity to fact check you. You want to make sure you do extensive research so that when things are, you know, being put out, you want to make sure that you have it correctly. It's not even about trying to have it out there first. It's
Mm-hmm.
about making sure it's right.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're trying to make sure that it's first, you could be wrong. There could be more stories coming out right behind it. It varies.
Mm-hmm.
So with me, I like to make sure that I have the facts together. If I need to do extensive research on something, whether it's breaking news or just something that just comes up to my mind that I kind of pitched at my editors, and I'm like, hey, I think this would be a great piece for this publication, or I feel like this would be a great piece. Or even when you have people who come and like email you pitches or trying to get their clients on different publications, or even reaching out to me to interview their own clients and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that can be hectic
Yeah.
because it's like not everybody have their stuff together. And it can be a little frustrating for us because we have a lot of things going on, and we like to make sure that everything, whatever it is that you're looking for us to do, have it in one email.
Mm-hmm.
We shouldn't have to, continue the back and forth to ask you, okay, well, do you have this? Do you have that? Before you reaching out to any journalists or even publication or writers, you got to make sure that you have your pitches or whatever it is that you're trying to pitch your client. Make sure you have all the information there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we may open it, we may probably didn't even get a chance to read it and whatnot. So it's a lot that plays in the part with being a journalist. It's a lot. We're always on the go. It's like a 24-hour job for
Yeah,
us.
because news could break at any given moment, and you guys
Mm-hmm.
need to be, I guess, prepared to kind of act on it or do whatever those steps are in order to get it out in a professional manner from the moment the news breaks till the moment that it's available to be able to share it with everyone. Very
Right.
interesting. Okay. And one thing you mentioned earlier too that jumped out at me, when you were talking about the radio, and you were talking about being like the different level of sort of comfort, not being on video and just being able to just talk in terms of what you're wearing, how you look, and all that stuff. That also resonated with me a little bit because, I have my show, of course, and I started a podcast, which to start off with is going to just be sort of the recordings of my YouTube shows, because most of the content is two people or one person talking. Because like some of these episodes are from like January, for example, and I'm going in order. So I would do like a little podcast audio recording of like an introduction of what this episode was about, like a little retrospective before going into the episode. And when I did the first one, I just remember the exact thing you just said, which is right now I'm preparing myself to record this, but the camera's off. It's just the audio. And I'm sitting here like in the same chair, like leaning back and just getting, such a different sort of vibe, different experience
Yeah.
versus, camera on, having to look and feel a certain way and stuff. But that definitely jumped out at me as a major thing in terms of just knowing that that's the case. And sometimes it can result in, it'll result in a different feel for the end product, right? A different feel until you get really comfortable in front of the camera where, you're, I don't know, someone like a Jimmy Kimmel doing it live all the time. And just, it
Right.
seems like he's just like, it doesn't faze him whatsoever. And so that's interesting, actually, for sure, to think about that. I want to jump into this question for you. So if you have a chance to put a billboard up and have anything you want, either written or a picture of something on this billboard that people are going to be seeing every day when they drive, on the highway. Take a moment to think about it, but I want to know what you think you might want to have on that billboard.
Cool. Definitely me, of course,
Mm-hmm.
because I would like for people to have that a face with a name.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that is me. So when you drive by, you can see a pretty face, and then at the top you see like the culture commentator, and then you have Driune Santana
Nice. Simple.
along all of my socials and stuff like that. So it'll be all about me,
Yeah.
and it'd be like big. The culture commentator would be in big words, nice creative writing, and
Mm-hmm.
then you have Driune Santana up under it.
There you go. I love it. Tell me a little bit more about the Culture Commentator. When did it start? And for people that are, being introduced to it for the first time, sort of, what's the vibe there?
Okay, so the culture commentator, it pretty much came to me actually this year. I feel that when I was doing YouTube, and I would do like reaction videos, I will always be like talking about different things that's going on around the world, whether it's celebrity, gossip, or just anything dealing with the culture and stuff. And I just felt like, wow, I really feel like I'm the culture commentator, because I feel like everything that I do is for the culture, whether it's music, politics, social justice, or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I'm the person who gives out my best opinions or how I feel about things in a way that a lot of people would not ever say.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt that being that voice, being that person who say whatever it is that's on their mind, And being able to do that with the career that I have, I think that that's amazing. So I pretty much just started this year. It really just came to me because I was like, I feel like I need a name for who Driune Santana is and what she does. And I know a lot of people, they have their own, signature names and whatnot. And I feel like, hey, the Culture Commentator is a badass. Like, I like this name. It fits a lot. And it just resonates really, really well. And introducing it to other people, I feel like a lot of people liked it. Like the feedback that I got from creating this name, well, not just creating it, but branding myself as this name, a lot of people liked it. They felt that it fit me just as well as I feel like it fits myself.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think it one of those things where you don't, what you're talking about when you look at that name or when you hear that name, right? Or I shouldn't say no, you could make a very, very close, educated guess on what this is about just from hearing the name, which I think is definitely important. I mean, there's different ways you can go, because I was just talking to yesterday on an interview, the developer for one of my favorite iPad music apps. The app is called Koala Sampler, and one of the questions for him at the end, I said, why Koala? I was very curious. Why is that the name of your app? Because it has nothing to do with music, as far as I know. And his response was very interesting. He said that when he asked his parents how they gave him how they named him, his parents knew that they wanted to have a K in his name because, and I never knew this, my name of course has a K in it as well, but he said that names with a K in it, something about it resonating power or uplifting or something positive about it. I was like, okay, that's pretty cool, interesting. So that doesn't really explain koala. And then he said, okay, yeah. Also, he said he just kind of thought of an animal that had the letter K in it, and he thought they were nice animals, and he didn't want it to have something that was like specific to music. He wanted it to kind of be. He wanted people to think about it, like where's the correlation there? Just as as I've been doing.
Right.
And so that's completely different. If I say, hey, I'm using koala, someone's like, okay, what the heck is that? Like they'll have no idea. Culture Commentator, you know exactly what you're talking about. So there's different ways to brand yourself, of course. And I think as long as you own it, as long as you own it and you know what it is that you're kind of going for, both ways I think, could be beneficial for sure. I want to talk a little bit about music with you. You're big into music, I'm sure, just like I am. And a couple different avenues. We'll start with one of the questions that I ask a lot of my guests, just to get an idea, of the musical tastes. If you have a chance to go to a concert with 5 artists, living or dead, and they're going to perform for you, who's going to be at your concert?
Number one, Beyonce, of course. Like, she's definitely top tier. Gonna definitely be there. I probably won't even need nobody else. But I would say, okay, so 5. So I would say Beyonce, Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston, Selena, and then for somebody who's alive, I want to say Chris Brown.
Oh wow, no doubt. That's 5 amazing performers. Yeah, I like that. Okay, okay. Chris Brown. I didn't think about how amazing a Chris Brown concert must be, with his ability to perform and the amount of hits that he has.
Yeah, like
Undeniable.
it's amazing. Like, I've never seen him perform live, but I would watch like recordings of his performances. It's like, even watching him on the BET Awards or any awards, even just his concert in general, they're always amazing. From the lightings, the setups, the choreo.
Yeah.
That he brings to the stage is amazing.
Always
it's
on point.
definitely a great performer.
Yeah. I
Definitely.
totally agree with that. I think everyone you just mentioned. It's interestingly enough, we were just watching Preacher's Wife yesterday, my wife and I, and yeah, just seeing that opening scene with Whitney Houston singing. I hadn't seen a video of her singing in probably a very long while, and just watching, I'm like, man, we both made the same statement because Whitney Houston is my wife's favorite all-time artist,
Mhm.
bar none, and it just looked. And maybe I don't even. I was gonna say I don't know. I doubt she was lip singing in that. I'm almost positive she was singing in that scene because it looked it, but it just looked so effortless. Like the way that she's able to hit those notes where it doesn't look like you're straining or anything. That's like a
Right.
God-given gift, which is incredible. Which is why she's a lot of people have her as the best singer of all time. And that's I would say that's where I would put her probably as well. Let me ask one more question for someone that's watching this that wants to get into journalism, and has some ideas about it, but kind of maybe doesn't know how to get a start, how to start the process. What's something, imagine you talking directly to them. What's maybe some advice that you may have for them on that front?
Number one for sure is that if you're in college, and you like I know some colleges they have like a program where you can do like writing for the college paper or have like a college website where they let students write articles or stuff like that on there. Try to do something around around college,
Yeah.
or do internships. Internships will be your best friend. They will allow you to get some experience in, and maybe if you build a great relationship with whoever you're working with, they may bring you on to be a part of the staff. You kind of have a little bit of job within it.
Yeah.
One thing I will say is that journalism is not the easiest thing ever, because some people make a living off of this and some people try to make a living off of this. And be honest, not a lot of these publications do pay writers. So we kind of have to venture out and do other things to make money
Mm.
for the work that we do. So one thing that I would say is don't expect to come in just making money out the gate or whatnot. Like you have to build up your portfolio, and when you're ready to venture out to other publications to write for or pitch to, make sure you have all of that together. If you need advice or templates and whatnot, I mean, I can help you, with that and stuff. Another thing that I will say is, if you ever get fired, don't let it discourage you or make you feel like you're not good enough, because it will happen.
Mm.
I heard the other day, I was in a conversation with someone that was like, if you ain't never been fired twice from a publication, then you ain't doing nothing. And I've been fired twice from a publication, so
Yeah.
I'm doing something. So I don't know if that was the best thing that I could ever say, but it really resonated with me, because there was a time where I did get fired from 2 publications. And
Hmm.
now I'm writing for multiple people and doing different things for multiple people. But
Yeah.
I just say, don't never let that, discourage you. Connect with, if you know writers that you love their work, reach out to them on Instagram or email them, and kind of build that connection there and tell them who you are, introduce yourself. You never know, they may have an opportunity for you that can open up a door for you.
Hmm.
It
That's
can happen.
huge.
It can happen. It definitely can happen. Try to connect with a lot of media people as much as you can. And me, like I tell people, I live in Mississippi. There is no opportunity out here for me for what I want to do.
Mm.
There. So one thing I say is, if you live in a state or a town or a city that you feel doesn't have any opportunities for you, this is your chance to create your own. Because that's
Hmm.
exactly what. And I'm 5 years into this industry, and I've written for 9 publications.
Hmm. Wow. Yeah.
Non-publication, and I'm
Yeah.
trying to make
Yeah.
it. So, you know, it it can be very, very hectic. Sometimes you may feel not motivated to do these things because you don't see a progress. There was a time where I felt like last year, I felt like I didn't want to do this anymore. I wanted to quit. I wanted to just work at a regular job and go on about my business, but I didn't allow that to happen. And look what have happened if I didn't. I would have never got a chance to cover my first BET event.
Yeah.
I would have never gotten a chance to cover so many different events or speak with so many different people if I had given up.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I will say is when you feel that moment where you just feel like you just want to shut down or just feel like, man, I see everybody around here getting all these opportunities. When is it going to be my time? You have to learn to be patient and allow things to come to you. And once it comes to you, you better be ready to handle it because it's going to be a lot of more things coming for you.
Mm-hmm.
And God puts you in position to let you know that at that time you may have not been ready. Now, when things are happening, that means that you're ready.
Mm-hmm.
Take it. Go
Mm-hmm.
for it.
I love that. That's great advice. Great advice. I mean, there's a few things to unpack there, being that we have the ability now, which it was a while ago, but I remember for sure there was a time where we were not able to reach directly out to people that we would consider celebrities or people of a bigger influence than us. But we have that like capability now to an extent. Obviously, certain levels of celebrities may have other people handling their accounts and all this kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's incredible that, Instagram for one, everyone has one. Mostly everyone has an Instagram account. So it's very accessible as long as you're, introducing yourself, the right way and not sort of doing it with the sort of direct purpose of trying to get something out of that initial conversation, but just to network, like you said. It could work. It really could work wonders. And it's important if you're serious about it, it's important to have that be a part of your routine or your sort of things that you're doing is connecting with people, not unlike what, you and I are doing right now. So I think that's great feedback. I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time out. I want to give you an opportunity to let my audience know where they can reach out to you.
So my Instagram is @SantanaMuse. Why did I choose that name? Because when you come to my page, you're going to see me and the work that I do. Mm-hmm. My brand page is the Culture Commentator. I have a separate Instagram for that where I post like my media coverages, my interviews, and basically all the media, video, or photo content there you're going to be seeing. Soon, I'm going to start my own photography page called Muse by Santana. Basically, it's going to be more so of you get to see my photography skills. And I'm pretty excited about that. On Twitter, you can find me at Driune Santana, and on YouTube, you can find me at Driune Santana and the Culture Commentator. So I have 2 separate YouTube channels.
Okay. Awesome. Really appreciate the time. Looking forward to to getting this episode out, to sharing with my audience, and I'm definitely looking forward to continuing our interactions on the social media timeline and whatnot. It's been fun these last several months.
Yeah, it has. I'm ready to close out 2020 and move forward in 2021 and take over.
I'm telling you, that's it. That's what I'm talking about. 2021 about to be our year. That's what's about to happen. Speak it to existence, right?
Over.
That's it. There you go. Thank you so much for your time. Have a wonderful rest of the evening, and I'll be talking to you soon, okay?
Yeah, thank you for having me on your show. I'm pretty excited. I like this. I like when people want to interview me instead of interviewing people.
Yeah, that must be cool. Yeah, because you're so used to being on the other side, right?
Yeah, so you never know what people are going to ask you.
Right. That's what one of my first guests who's into fitness, who's a close friend of mine, he has a podcast himself, and that's one of the things that he shared with me during our episode was that it was so refreshing, kind of like you mentioned, to be on the other side and kind of just, he was talking about how, being the one-man crew, having to make sure the video is good and the audio is good and the questions are prepared and all this stuff. And he was just like, yeah, this was cool. It was just like conversation. He's like, you Kevin have to worry about all that other stuff. I can just sit here and just answer questions. And so it really resonated with him. Yeah.
It's a breeze.
That's it. You're just talking. It's just a conversation. And that's the other thing that I'm trying to continue to turn this into, trying to find the right timing for it. I know that first several episodes like an hour, and now I'm trying to like figure out like the 30-minute, kind of getting closer to that. And then also just trying to make it as informal yet prepared, meaning like not just a conversation that's just going all over the place necessarily. Sometimes that happens that way. But yeah, something that's just like something that my guests feel good during it, and then feel afterwards like, oh, that was a fun conversation, or that was, I really want that for them as well, just like I want quality for my audience,
Right. I
Yeah.
definitely. I'm really excited for everyone to see this episode.
Awesome.
Um,
Awesome.
it's gonna be fun.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Have a great night. And I'll be talking to you soon, my friend.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care.